This time, Carlo Ancelotti's AC Milan, a Champions League trilogy. Hello and welcome to By Far the Greatest Team, a podcast in which football fans attempt the impossible to rank once and for all who is the greatest team of all time. My name's Graham Dunn, making the case for Oxford United where it doesn't belong. Definitely doesn't belong anywhere in the Champions League, that's for sure. And joining me as ever, the king of the data, it's Jamie Rooney.
Hello, Greg. Definitely doesn't belong in the Champions League yet. You should caveat that, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Football's a funny old game, as somebody once said. And you never know. Oxford United if you play Championship Manager like I used to, I used to get non-league teams into the Champions League after about 3-4 seasons. So, anything is possible, Graham. So I'm crossing my fingers for Oxford United and their date with destiny.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Yes, we're going. We're definitely in your home territory this week. Italian football, one of your favourites.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. If not only the amount of content we need to shoehorn in, and it's incredible the volume of content that happens during this period of AC Milan's history under Carlo Ancelotti. I think if we get time, we should also try to answer that world-known question that everyone has problems answering. Who has the most flexible eyebrow? Is it Carlo Ancelotti or is it Roger Moore?
It has to be Ancelotti, definitely. There's bags and bags to talk about here, but if it was just me and Jamie, it would be Jamie talking 95% of the time and me crowbarring in on the 2 or 3 small facts I know about this story, but fortunately we have got reinforcements for tonight. And this actually, we're doing this pod in part because of a throwaway comment that Gus made in the last podcast. So welcome back away from his classic underdog territory last seen on with Norwich City. It's Gus Chrysonis. Hi, Gus.
Hello, guys. Thank you again for having me. Absolute honour. Finally, a big team that I can get my teeth in, been supporting them for about 20 odd years now. More than that, actually. Yeah, 2026. So, like I said earlier, it's nice to have a team where you don't have to focus on their how scrappy they are and how they can get a result out of thin air, whereas this is proper quality for the upper echelon.
So Gus, can I ask a question? So Panathinaikos, big Panathinaikos fan.
Yep.
You're from Athens, absolutely born and bred. You live in Norwich and you've been there for a long time. Get the Norwich connection. AC Milan, where's the connection?
The connection is that when you like football and you grow up playing FIFA and Football Manager and things like that, you tend to adopt a team, or a team adopts you without realizing it.
This is true.
For example, I was an Aston Villa fan while I was in Greece for no apparent reason. I just kept picking them on Football Manager and FIFA. So probably something with the colours or something. I don't know. Yeah, so similar to that. So AC Milan, just the colours, they always look really good to me. And there's possibly a bit of my dad in there as well, because he used to tell me about Gianni Rivera, and obviously he saw that kind of football. It's it's not internet research; it's actual memories. So
that's incredible.
And the other thing I was thinking, that actually it's why the connection, because as a football fan growing up in Greece, we wouldn't get the Italian league, right? So we would get Champions League matches on the TV, and a team like Milan that's really big in the European stage, you would get to see them quite a lot. So I think those little bits made me a big fan.
You mentioned the colours, red and black. I also gravitate towards football teams in red, black and white. I wonder why. But yeah, and the colours always interest me. So I've always kind of had an eye on AC Milan. Not really a fan, but always had an eye on them. But the colours come from an English guy called Herbert Kilpin. He was responsible for AC Milan, the football team, as you know, and the colours he picked: red for, I think, for the fire, and black for the fear. So there you go, fire and fear.
And I think he said something to the extent of like we're gonna be like devils, and they're gonna fear us, and something like that. So quite bold statement, like in the 1800s to
Yeah, especially that time as well. This is 1899 when AC Milan came into being. So football generally globally is fairly young, but in Italy it's only just starting. This is a brand new game that the Italians are getting to learn about, and there you got a bunch of English people setting up football and cricket in northern Italy. It'll never work. Never work.
you've done the Genoa story as well, and I have a bit of a soft spot for Genoa as well, being the first, and it's a lovely, lovely place. Similar origins, isn't it? Just the English people setting football clubs in Italy.
It really is, yeah, and it's part of the reason why I think both Genoa and Milan have the English names. They've
Mm.
kept on to the origins, and both of them have the St George's Cross on their badge as well, which is kind of representative of their history. Graham, I feel like we've excluded you, and you're like you're the host here, and here we are having a gossip about AC Milan colours. Having a right cup of tea moment.
You keep going. You keep going. I was loath to ask this or offer this up, Jamie, but for people who are unfamiliar with this story, which may include me, could you provide a relatively brief synopsis as to what kind of team does Ancelotti inherit?
I think Gus could have a go at this one.
Well, basically, there's so much history in that football club. It's
Maybe Gus can't have a go at this one.
I can have a go, but it won't be very brief. You have to mention at least something from each decade, like 60s onwards, at least. I feel
Gus has nailed it. You got the 1960s where they're established, then the 1980s where Berlusconi comes on board and takes Milan to another level, then into the 1990s. So I think that's the setup. So Gus, give us a potted history, and I'll try to chip in if I can help out.
What I wanted to mention is basically Milan lifts their first European Cup in 1963. They win again in 1968, the European Cup. So they're kind of establishing a European identity. They become juggernauts quite early.
Actually, I think Milan won it in 69. They win it in between. We have to check the history on that. But there's a shift in power in the late 1960s from the kind of a Latin America, Italian teams and Spanish teams and Portuguese dominating. And then from around about 1968, there's this power shift that goes right through. The North are in charge. English teams, German teams, Dutch teams, all winning European Cups until 1985, when Juventus win the European Cup. And then once again, we're back into setting up a period of Italian dominance.
Yeah, that I've never thought of that way, but yeah.
Berlusconi takes over Milan in 86, and I mean, he has one vision. He's creating a superpower in European football.
And his focus is on the European Cup because he is a TV magnate. So at the same time, he wants the TV rights to skyrocket and be all around Europe. So his profits will be really much more than being a domestic Italian juggernaut. So he does that. He brings in obviously the Dutch trio, and kind of the rest is history for the 80s. There's no one else involved in any awards apart from AC Milan players. And then that's obviously the Arrigo Sacchi era as a manager. And then he moves on to coach Italy, and his assistant takes charge, certain someone named Fabio Capello. And he is also very, very good at winning stuff with Milan. I mean, obviously, being given something that powerful, you'd have to, you have to do a lot of backflips to ruin it. But I actually did some maths. Sorry, Jamie, if that's your territory. But
it's not my territory.
Under Sacchi, Milan win the league once, 2 European Cups, 1 Super Cup, 2 European Super Cups, and 2 Intercontinental Cups, whatever those were. But when Capello takes over in his 5 years in charge, he wins the league 4 times.
Yeah.
He wins it, I think, 3 times in a row. They go in the Champions League final 3 times in a row, winning it once, losing it twice. And he got 3 Super Copas and 1 European Super Cup. So arguably, silverware-wise, Capello has won quite a few more.
It's a good setup for possibly 2 additional AC Milan players. But if we fast forward to the mid-90s, AC Milan, after their dominance under Capello, have lost their way a little bit. They're still a superpower, but they're not hitting as hard as they have been. Both Scacchi and Capello come back for short periods. Neither of them do anything. They both finish mid-table with AC Milan.
11th and 12th, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing like their dominance. And then after that, Milan kind of fall into, I mean, they do win one more title, I think in, was it 88, 89? But they're still not the dominant Milan that it was 10 years before. And there's a bit of chaos going on. They're bringing Fatih Terim, the Turkish coach. She's a very massive character, a big history in football. And it just doesn't really work out for him. And I think Berlusconi has decided that there's a young upstart in the Italian leagues that's doing some pretty good stuff with Juve, and he's worth a punt on, and his name is Carlo Ancelotti. So Graham, like, I know you asked the question 45 hours ago. I think between Gus and I, we've now set up Milan are in a little bit of chaos in 2001. Fatih Terim is probably going to be out of a job, and Carlo Ancelotti is just about to start a remarkable football career.
So he joins from Juventus. So, but what's his kind of history pre Milan?
Well, he was a player with Milan and won under Sacchi, and he won quite a few trophies with him. Then he turns into management, and he manages Parma. There's a lot to be said about the Parma that won the UEFA Cup, I think twice in the late 90s. Is kind of his making, he put the foundations in for that to happen. But he's also quite criticized as a young coach because Roberto Baggio was about to sign for Parma, but Ancelotti was really fixated on playing 4-4-2, and he couldn't fit a classic number 10 into his formation. So he told Baggio pretty much you're either going to play striker or you don't come, and he didn't come. And Baggio scored 25 goals the next season with Bologna, and Ancelotti was a bit like, red-faced.
And I think, Gus, is it fair to say Ancelotti's, at this point in his early coaching career, he is kind of wedded to this 4-4-2. And I think that comes from his time with Milan under Arrigo Scacchi and also Fabio Capello. I think because they've played the 4-4-2 in Italy in a time where the 4-4-2 wasn't massively popular. And I think Ancelotti has seen such great success with it. He believes that is the principal formation that football teams should be playing.
Yeah, that's all he knows pretty much. And I think when you set out to be a manager, you're probably trying to start strong with something that's already established rather than like taking risks. But he learns the hard way that probably when you have to handle like mega superstars and magicians of the round like ball of air, you have to give them some freedom as well. But he makes some impression because Juventus hire him. And he's quite unlucky, I think, because he finishes second 2 years in a row, and he's quite harshly probably sacked by Juventus.
Now, the way we're going to try and look at this team, because there's a lot of ground to cover, is really through the prism of these 3 Champions League appearances, which do have a glorious narrative arc to it all. So the first of these is at the end of the 2002-2003 season. So within 2 years, he has taken AC Milan to a Champions League final and success. How does he do? What does he have to do? How does this journey begin?
There's kind of an overhaul of players starting before his arrival and continuing while he's there, where pretty much all the protagonists of that first success come to Milan between 2001 2002. So Shevchenko is already there.
Hmm.
And within that span of 2 years, they get Rui Costa, Pippo Inzaghi, Clarence Seedorf, Alessandro Nesta, who's like 4 times Italian Defender of the Year at that point, bringing him in to partner with Maldini, the best defender of all time. They get 21-year-old Andrea Pirlo from Inter, who Ancelotti turns him into a deep lying playmaker, because he was an advanced attacking midfielder, and he wants him to play deeper and orchestrate the attacking prowess from the back, and that turns out to be like a masterclass.
So yes, they make these signings across the way, and what does Ancelotti bring to it? What do we think he brings to it all?
I think he's learned his lesson from the Baggio incident, so now he's allowing the players to express themselves. When you bring that magnitude of players, you can't really nitpick and tell them how to play and what to do every single minute. You have to allow them for that freedom of expression. And I think he becomes, instead of the rigid manager that he becomes one of the more flexible. He has his plan of how the team will play, but within that, the players have the creative freedom to do whatever they feel at the same time. Also, we probably should mention that Gattuso is already at Milan since '99, and he's a very important cog in the machine, because you have all the creative players, but you have to have your pit bull of a ball-winning midfielder.
Yeah, I think in his first season, Gus, I think he learns from his Baggio mistake that you referenced. I think, being wedded to this 4-4-2. So I think in Ancelotti, they've got somebody who's calm. He's always calm. I mean, he's become more and more calm. I mean, why wouldn't you after the success he's had? However, in his first season, he does adapt his tactics. So he kind of introduces the world to the diamond formation in midfield. So it is a 4-4-2, but it's not your classic wing players. He uses Rui Costa there's the point with Albertini, Pirlo and Gusto, as Gus has mentioned, behind Rui Costa, and then he uses 2 strikers, Andrei Shevchenko and Filippo offside Inzaghi.
I don't think you can remember many worldies from Inzaghi. Really, he's just a tap in legend. He just right at the offside line. 9 times out of 10, he will be offside. The 10th one is going to be a goal. So
his sense of timing is fantastic, and he was a risk taker. I think he's severely underrated. I loved him. He was just a brilliant goal scorer. The hardest thing to do in football, and he did do that. And I think as the season wears on, because this is a time, Graham, when you have to finish in the top 4 in the Italian league to qualify for the Champions League. So the Champions League, even in 2002, has expanded across the continent, where 4 Italian teams, because Italian football is right up there. It's the peak. It's still probably the most dominant league in European football. The Spanish league isn't competing with it. The English league is growing into it, but Italy dominates. So Italy have 4 places. And Ancelotti, his team are flirting around 4th, 5th and 6th all season until the very last 2 games, where they win both of those games, and that puts them into 4th place. And that's quite significant, because that means Ancelotti in his first season in charge has qualified AC Milan into the Champions League. And for your storytelling arc, that's quite important.
It definitely is. It feels quite a lengthy tournament, this one, doesn't it? Because we are back into the glorious days of 2 different separate group stages, aren't we?
That is absolute madness. I was looking at the highlights, and you go through the first group stage, top of the table, then you have to play Real Madrid on the second group stage.
Yeah,
it's not even knockout yet.
This is the ridiculous nature. I think this is the influence of television again. So obviously the Champions League is growing, and I think you're thinking, how do we capitalize on this? Games. So you have this initial group stage to eliminate with 32 teams, just to eliminate 16 teams, which is what they do now, kind of. I mean, the big league thing has changed things. And then they go into another group phase where they have to play home and away. So you play 6 games in a group phase, then 6 games again. Now, this was the last time this format was used.
AC Milan have a really they seem to be remarkably good at these group stages. So they actually win their first 4 games of the second qualifying stage as well to get through to the quarterfinals. Jamie, you've been talking about the dominance of Italian football. That probably is most evident once we get to the semi-final stage because there are 3 Italian teams in there.
This really is prime Italian football. They are the dominant league from when Juventus won the European Cup in 1985 through to this period in 2003, where we've got 3 Italian teams in the semi-final of the Champions League. Juventus, who play Real Madrid, and then we've got the 2 Milan teams playing each other in the semi-final. It is total dominance, and it looks for all the world like Italian football is going to continue its dominance as well.
That semi-final is fantastic, isn't it? To have neighbours playing.
The neighbours, they live in the same house. They're roommates.
Roommates. Unusually for Italian football, these are quite. Who knew that if you put 2 Italian teams together, they might nullify each other?
That's your first yellow card for tonight.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Was it a free-flowing semi-final?
Absolutely spot on, mate. The first game finishes goalless. And what's important about this is the draw. So AC Milan have been drawn at home in the first game. AC Milan are playing Inter Milan at home, who are playing Inter Milan are playing AC Milan at home are away. Ground sharing is not uncommon in Italy. Sampdoria, Genoa, they share a ground. Lazio, Roma, they share a ground. But it is uncommon generally. It does happen, but it's common. What makes this one even more unique, and Gus, you've got this, is that the stadium has a different name where the 2 teams play there. How brilliant is that? It changes its name.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest bugbears when commentators get it wrong. And sometimes, when Milan are playing, someone else and they say, oh, they're playing in the Giuseppe Meazza. I'm like, no, they're playing the San Siro. And then, and vice versa, because obviously I think Giuseppe Meazza was Inter Milan legend. So obviously they named the stadium after their legend, but obviously we call it the San Siro. So
I'm 100% with you. And so they play out on the 7th of May, a goalless draw. AC Milan are the home team. Then AC Milan travel to their home stadium to play the away game of AC Milan, who are now the home team after being the away team in their own stadium. And this is why the draw is so important, because we get another draw, 1-1 this time, Graham. So there are 2 goals. Mm-hmm. Andrei Shevchenko scores for Milan to give them the lead, and then a late, I think it's Obafemi Martins equaliser with 5-6 minutes to go means this is the era when away goals were firmly in place. The whistle goes, the game is over, and Inter Milan, I think, become the first and only team to lose on away goals at home.
And so they should.
I
told you before, I love away goals. I just the concept that away goals count for more. It's just brilliant. I love it. I'm so gutted that they
it is. It. I'm divided on it, I have to say. But, as a kid growing up, I took it literal that away goals counted double. On those rare cases when Manchester United were playing in Europe, if they scored away, I'm like, well, that's 2 goals. It was only a few years later that I realised, actually, no, that it's only certain circumstances where they count double.
We used to think of it as 1.5. It's literally like literally like carrying the 1, isn't it? When you score an away goal, you have you have to carry the 1.
That is so good. That's a good way of looking at it.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Milan are in the final.
And all Italian affair in Manchester at Old Trafford. Milan against Juventus. Another high-scoring game.
Another exciting match. But to be fair, this is the bit that I've always like. I remember that final. I watched that final, and I am the biggest Gianluigi Buffon fan of all time. I was gutted when he went to Juventus. I thought, why Milan not getting him? His old family member, um, Lorenzo Buffon, was a goalkeeper from Milan back in the 50s. So it's like, it's just a perfect scenario. And he ends up going to Juventus, and he's just incredible. Like, he's just the most amazing goalkeeper of all time. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a header by Inzaghi that's literally like 2 feet from the goal line, and he
Yeah.
just dives and sends it out, and like Inzaghi can't believe it. Like, you can see in his face. I mean, he was always quite theatrical with his reactions, but you can see he literally can't believe what just happened. Like, that is a goal in 99.9% of the chances, and he just dives and gets it out. So I blame him for the goalless draw, for being too good. And after extra time, there's come the penalties, and apparently Dida, the Brazilian goalkeeper that's in goal for Milan, is a specialist on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, and a very, very good goalkeeper, Dida, one of many brilliant Brazilian goalkeepers in an era when Brazilian goalkeepers dominate. And when I was growing up, Brazilian goalkeepers were always dodgy. When did that become a thing? But what Dida does there, I mean, in the penalties, I don't know if you've watched this, Graham. I mean, encroachment is taken to another. In fact, Dida does actually get topped for encroachment, and we'll talk about that when we fast forward to Act 2. But yeah, I mean, his encroachment is incredible. I mean, this is a time where it may have been a rule that goalkeepers have to stay on the line before the ball is kicked, but it wasn't enforced.
Yeah, it's fascinating watching those penalties again, and actually when you're watching, almost all penalty shootouts from the past, from 15, 20 years or so ago. I mean, you can see firstly the difference in quality of penalties these days. In most penalty shootouts these days, the number that go in that corner are just extraordinary, really, by comparison. Whereas, even 20 years or so ago, they're a bit middle of the, the keeper goes the right way or the wrong way. They seem to have less in their locker, but they are, as you say, they are having to deal with the keeper taking several steps forward towards them, and
to your point, Graham, we had to go through a very dark time with all the tippy tappies and the little steps and the mid jump stops, and that became like really, really silly, and very rarely there were good penalties, and it seems to have died back down to it's a penalty, just run up and score it and get on with it. But yeah, and Dida is I'm quite on the fence about him, because he had a mistake in him, as we will probably talk about if we jump ahead in time a little bit. But he was brilliant at times, and then he was absolutely nowhere to be found at other times. And so it was kind of 50-50, like if he was going to be his night or not. So and that night obviously was, because nothing else went in. And then at penalties, he made his name back in Brazil, like saving penalties. So, and he's like 6'6" or something. So
he's a central character, central player for this Ancelotti team. He's pretty much there. He comes in the Champions League season. I think he's there before, actually, and then he's still there around about when Ancelotti is winning the Champions League for the second time.
He was on loan, wasn't he? He was on loan, and Ancelotti brought him back, so he's ready to play.
And that's pretty much until his career is tragically cut short after the savage attack at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I think we should definitely pay homage to his post-football career when he went on when he failed to become a Hollywood stuntman. I mean, his performance is not great. I mean, do we want to talk about that now? Because
yeah, we might as well.
I mean, to set the context, we've kind of fast forwarded to 2007, I think it is 2007, 2008 season.
Yeah.
So this is after AC Milan have won their second Champions League. I think they're in the last 16 of the Champions League. They're playing at Celtic. It's a very tight game. A Celtic fan probably had a few tenants extras in him, runs onto the pitch, arms aloft, cheering. And he seems to just flick Dida's chin. Yeah, it's no more than that, Gus. It's almost like he's stroking him in a loving, affectionate way. Yeah, it's almost like that. And then Dida decides that, I'm going to go after this guy, and the fans running off, cheering. And then I think Dida realizes, I can't catch this guy. And he just falls down in a heap, doesn't he? From this brush. But that's not the end of it.
No, absolutely fair play to him, because he's got a decision to make as to how long he
has to commit.
He has to commit. And he definitely does. I do wonder when you see him being stretched off.
Holding his face.
Putting his face. At what point he's thought, do you know, this might have got out of hand.
I could have played it differently.
I commend him on committing to it, I have to say. I mean, fair play. It's not like there's not a TV camera on site recording all of this as it goes on. And UEFA, they weren't buying it. They didn't buy it. So he did actually receive a 2-match ban for his theatrics. And the Hollywood stunt career is over.
So it's unlike you, Jamie, not to side with the theatrical diving. I thought that was one of your.
Well, I would say I'm a fan of diving. I just don't have an issue with playing falling over the way that some people do. But in this instance, Graham, it's a fair shout. But yeah, I think this is an instance where his delay of falling over from the point of contact is pretty obvious. So therefore, it's hard to get away with this one, whereby if he was to fall over immediately, then maybe there's some justification to his theatrics. But
yeah, I'm just not sure what his end game was. He's trying to get the fan sent off.
Don't think you thought it through.
I was trying to switch her on. The fan was back in the pub.
Anyway, he's definitely got a story to tell. So the first Champions League final is successfully won. That's their first win for 10 years, is it? I think they won in 93, is that right?
94.
94.
So, 94 in Athens. So
yes.
That's going to come back as well. But it's also 40 years pretty much to the day since, Paolo Maldini lifts the cup, since his dad in 63 lifted the cup, and both in England. 63 was in Wembley, and this is in Manchester. So it's quite poetic.
It's probably worth noting as well, after their triumph, which is at the end of May, 3 days later, they play in the Coppa Italia, which is the Italian FA Cup. And it's over 2 legs, actually. It's the second leg on the 31st of May. They're already leading 4-1 against Rome, the first one. So they're nailed on pretty much to win the cup as well, which they do. That is the very last time, at the time of recording, the AC Milan have won the Italian Cup, which is quite extraordinary for such a giant in football. I mean, I kind of looked through a few of the major leagues and looked at the teams that you kind of associate with Cup. And AC Milan kind of stand out on their own, unless you include Tottenham in that conversation, and then they don't. And, Tottenham failed to win a cup for, I think, over 40 years, is that? FA Cup? I don't know.
That's the kind of football club we're talking about. It's the European DNA that counts. It's kind of like if domestic competitions don't count, and they don't matter to them as much. It's like, as long as we can get into the Champions League, as long as we can play European football, that is our stage. And going back to statistics that we mentioned earlier, Ancelotti only wins the league once in the year that's after this one. They ran away with it, but that is literally it. That is the end of domestic dominance.
Dominance, yeah.
That's literally domestically one year. That's it.
And I guess it's worth saying that 03-04 season, the one that follows, so they win the league. We get, I think, to the quarterfinals in the Champions League. And Jamie, you're going to be excited about these two things. They win the Super Cup, which you think is a thing, and
I'd like to say that I think it's a thing as well, you know.
2-1.
And Shevchenko wins the Ballon d'Or, which you also think's a thing.
It used to be before it was a two-horse race.
Wow, we'll come back to that as well. That's quite interesting. Well, you know, why isn't the Super Cup is counted by most football teams, European teams? I think the English have a slight downward view of it, but most teams on continental Europe will view the Super Cup as a major trophy. It's the season or opener. It's a showcase. It's normally the Champions League winner versus the it used to be the Cup Winners' Cup, but it wasn't back then because I think the Cup Winners' Cup had finished just a season or two before that. So it was the Champions League winner versus UEFA Cup / Europa League winner. So, you know, you're looking at two heavyweights in Europe battling out the first trophy this season. The Ballon d'Or is interesting, Graham. I like your reference. I'm actually not a fan of the Ballon.
Oh.
I'm not really a big fan of individual awards in football. You know, football's a collective team game. Not to get too serious and downplay it, but the Ballon d'Or is massively unbalanced. It's generally won by a goal scorer, a forward, Andrei Shevchenko in this case. It's generally won by a player who's played in a team that's won either the Champions League or a World Cup. It's voted by players and coaches alike. So there is some insight into the award, but it's massively unbalanced. I mean, if you're a goalkeeper or defender, the chances you win it are going to be, you know, every 20, 30 years if you're lucky. But if you're a forward and you're playing in one of the top teams, you've got a good chance to win it. Shevchenko wins the Champions League. He's Milan's best striker. He wins the Ballon d'Or. Milan have a big history with the Ballon d'Or. I mean, Gus has already mentioned Gianni Rivera. I mean, he won it in the 60s. And then you got Marco van Basten won it 3 times in a row. Ruud has won it. So this kind of leads into what Gus is saying, the narrative in terms of like AC Milan's focus, their dominance is about winning European trophies and European individual accolades. We could also talk about the Intercontinental World Cup if you want as well, you know, but that's also
please don't. Of all the stories we could say about these teams, I don't think the Intercontinental Cup is high up on the list.
I think one thing in the 2003-04 season worth noting, they do win Serie A, but they also bring in an unknown footballer from Brazil, from Sao Paulo, for I think about £6 million, £5 million, called Kaká. I think they've got a talent here. What do you reckon, Gus?
I think, they won the lottery, really, because he jumps in right from the get-go. Pretty much says to Rui Costa, all right, you're retired now. You're a fancy sub. I'll take over. It's just incredible from day one. The pace, the pace of that man. Like you see, I was watching I was watching some highlights, and you can see every other player that dribbles kind of looks at the ball every now and then, and is like, you know, let me make sure that I still have it and I kick in the right place. Kaká never looks at the ball. Well, he runs at full pelt, and the ball is stuck to him. It's absolutely incredible.
He's quite possibly one of the greatest players of all time in a small period. And you're right, he does kind of replace Rui Costa. But again, we need to give a nod to the genius of Ancelotti, because Ancelotti manages both of them really well. He still finds a way to give them both game time. So Rui Costa's been an incredible servant, a brilliant player in this number 10 role behind the front two. And with Kaká there, obviously you're going to play him. But Ancelotti does share the game time between the two of them. So he's managing the personalities, the big players in his football team. So I think Ancelotti is learning about himself in terms of what is the success of football management. And again, it goes back to your point, Roberto Baggio. I think it's almost like a prime lesson for Ancelotti in terms of like, I have to change. I can't change my players to a system. I have to change my system to my players. And I think that's what Ancelotti's doing.
Which is a lesson that current managers should get. Certain Portuguese
Yeah.
managers that have recently
Who,
left the
who knew
country.
if he played Bruno Fernandes in the number 10, he would have had loads of goal contributions. I mean,
It's
that no one saw that coming.
because it just makes sense, doesn't it? No one's going to sack the entire team, but one person is so much more easily sackable. So you'll have to adapt to your players. And Ancelotti has learned his lesson, and having that depth of bench is great as well. Because the other thing that we might touch upon is that, unfortunately, the only possible downside as a mentality and as a DNA of Milan is that it is an aging team. They tend to go for the experience, which is against modern football, especially in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
Age.
you're absolutely right, Gus, because that's totally reflected. So 2004 Kaká's come in and Milan have gone on and they've won the only Serie A title Ancelotti wins. 2004-5, they're back in the Champions League, and they're still playing this diamond with the two forwards, Shevchenko and now Crespo, which Gus plays into the aging players. Kaká is the youth behind that, and Seedorf as well. Pirlo, Gattuso, Serginho, Nesta, and a certain Yap Stam coming that season. So again, it plays into the hands that, I mean, Yap Stam was sold on the basis of Alex Ferguson suggesting that his legs had gone. And I think Ferguson went out and, some years later admitted he got it totally wrong on Yap Stam, because he did, because Yap Stam was still an incredible defender with incredible pace.
Yeah, and you also got Cafu, you've got, there's so many players that are 30 or over 30.
Yeah.
It's not a recipe. You can kind of see the end coming, really, isn't it? Because you're not building for the future. You have a fantastic collection of players, and the same thing happens even in the years that we're not looking into. Like Ronaldinho comes after his dominance with Barcelona. David Beckham makes an appearance. Brazilian Ronaldo comes after his peak. So
I think it becomes more like a fairy tale football team. And, as Italian football slowly slips into the margins of European dominance, why wouldn't you want to go play for AC Milan?
So Milan have won the first of their Champions League finals. Obviously, we're going to come on to the one which probably is the one that they're most famous for, this team during this period, 04-05, which we'll talk about after the break. Okay, so welcome back. We are on our way to Istanbul and the famous final, which is a low point, I guess you could say, in this Milan story. But reaching their second Champions League final in the space of 3 years is sort of quite something. And along the way, there's a few adventures, aren't there?
There is. I mean, they top the group again quite comfortably. They only lose to Barcelona. And then they meet Man United in the round of 16. And then you can always see a little bit of where they start pulling back as well, don't you? Like when it gets to the knockout stages, they tend to catenaccio a bit and have the professional wins of 1-0 and the goalless draws, but that's still a good way to win, isn't it?
Milan have United's number during this period. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic 2-1 nils.
We should also say that, like you mentioned earlier, that Crespo comes in that year, and he's another one that assimilates instantly. He creates a fantastic partnership at the front. Yeah, I was gutted when they didn't, because he's on loan. I was gutted where they for some reason they didn't get him back for another or make it permanent.
I think I'm just checking my notes. So I don't think I've got this. I think this is the season when Inzaghi is suffering lots of injuries as well. So
that would make sense.
And just to kind of go off character a little bit, the team is, I mean, if you play back the team in 2004-05, the team that goes to Istanbul for the Champions League final, Ancelotti's still playing his diamond 4-3-1-2. There's flexibility though, so he does change the shape through the season, but primarily that's what he's kind of going with. Dida's in goal, he's totally established. Cafu, probably one of the best right backs in the land. Then you've got Nesta and Yap.
35 years old though.
What's that? Right?
Sorry, 35 years old though. That's the aging thing.
That is the thing. I mean, this is the beginning of the point of when footballers probably started to believe that their careers can be extended at the top level. Because what Cafu's doing is sensational. A World Cup winner. Nesta and Stam in defence. Maldini on the left-hand side. Gattuso, that bulldog character in midfield that's just doing all the legwork. Pirlo, the luxury. Seedorf, the second luxury. Kako in front of him at the point of the diamond, and then you've got the two big lads, Shevchenko and Crespo up front. I mean, it's a who's who of the greatest footballers of all time, almost.
Yeah, you're getting hints of salted caramel and chocolate truffles. It's just a bit too much, too sweet. I know we're skipping ahead a bit, but if you look at the Liverpool that made the final that year, no disrespect to them, and obviously what they manage is incredible, but you wouldn't have the same hints of luxury.
Are you stressing that Jimmy Traore and Vladimir Smicha wouldn't make the AC Milan lineup?
Yeah, it's not. Obviously you have Xabi Alonso, and I was always fan of John Arne Riise, but it's not.
Just to give a little bit of context here, Liverpool weren't even in the top 3 best teams in English football. Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, and Alex Ferguson's Manchester United were all superior to this Liverpool. Yeah. This is why the Liverpool fans call this the miracle of Istanbul. Yeah. It's a miracle they got there, and it's a miracle they won it.
Yeah. Obviously, before we get to the dreaded day, there was another one of your favorite derbies, another home and away.
So Crespo has come in as the kind of like the stand-in for Inzaghi. He scored both goals against Manchester United in the 2-1-0 victories. Both second half goals, super tight games. Generally believe that if United would have come through that, they would have gone on to the final. I think they were that good at that moment, says the man with total blinkers on. But yeah, it sets up.
Answering a question neither of us asked.
No, Graham, I asked myself the question.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot that.
But yeah, it sets up the quarterfinal with the bizarre San Siro Giuseppe Meazza paradox. But this time it's a bit different. And it's a bit different because in the first leg, Milan win 2-0. It means Inter now have to score 3 goals at home to win on away goals.
Instead, they start throwing flares.
They do.
Which creates one of the most famous pictures, and it's actually quite a heartwarming picture as well. I like that sort of camaraderie where obviously the fans have gone nuts and it's like we hate each other, and then you have Materazzi like leaning on Rui Costa. It's like what are they doing? It's kind of like, can we grab a beer later?
It is super iconic. I mean, just to set the context, so it's the second leg. Milan are away at home. They are 1-0 up. And the incident takes place in around about the 70th minute. The flares start coming on. Dida, in this instance, I think probably had a genuine cause to go down. But yeah, Gus is right. It sets up this brilliant picture taken by Stefano. I had to dig this out, who took the picture, because he deserves full credit. Stefano Ralandini is a football journalist, a football photographer. I mean, he captures just an absolute moment of beauty. As Gus has already set up, Materazzi towers over Rui Costa, and they're just leaning. He's just leaning on them as mates, watching this incredible stuff going on, and the red smoky flare in the background. It is one of the most iconic football pictures I think I've ever seen. It's really up there in the top 10. It's just stunning.
Where does Jeremy Goss posing with his volley? A Norwich figure in that top 10.
That was my first thought when the epic pictures came to in the conversation. And then I sent Jamie the other one, which is a goalkeeper in the fog, and it's in 1937. Sam Bartram, the Charlton legendary goalkeeper. The fog came down, the match was abandoned, but no one told him, so he waited 15 minutes in the fog till a police officer came and what are you doing? And everyone's left. So I keep thinking that's one of my favorite stories, and it's a good picture as well.
No, a nice one, a good one. So we do get to the final in Istanbul, and is one of the potentially almost the most famous game in football. I would argue it's right up there in there. I suppose what's forgotten about this, and it's really easy to forget, especially when you view it from an English perspective. Actually, Milan start extremely well. You know, they're 3 up by half time. They're 1 up after less than a minute.
And that's the thing. From all your snarky remarks about goalless draws, this is the final that they actually start playing and actually dominating. And Maldini of all people puts them ahead of the first minute with a very striker-like strike, and Crespo gets another one, and then the third one is just the prettiest goal of all time. I mean, I am biased, but there's a pass from Pirlo, I think, to Kaká, who does a half turn and gets the ball with him and avoids his defender. And then he's behind the halfway line, and he sees Crespo make the run. He just cuts it to him, and then Crespo on the area, just outside or maybe just in, he just chips it.
Yeah,
chips it past Dudek. It's just the icing on the cake. And you think you go at halftime, it's like this is amazing. We've got down one in the bag. Just put the subs in and run out the clock.
It's so one-sided. It's so one-sided. A very petulant, immature guy in his early 30s, who's still smarting from Manchester United going out in the round of 16, decides at this point at half time, how am I going to use my time? So I decide to just start texting, and this is way before smartphones and WhatsApp and all that type of stuff, where it's really easy to send group messages. I had a few Liverpool friends in my phone, so I decided to text them and just basically share my emotional feelings of the game. This is embarrassing, guys. You're representing English football. Not that I cared that they won. This is just the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen, this Liverpool team. This is awful. And just using it as an opportunity to just drive the stake in. You're going to lose this game, and I'm watching, and I'm taking pleasure. You're going to lose this game. I mean, who's going to regret that text?
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
8 minutes of madness.
It's just, and it's so annoying because I think that's why my kind of, not resentment, because I don't resent him, but I think Dida drops the ball in that final quite a bit, especially that header from Gerrard, right, flies right next to him. He seems like he doesn't know where the goal is. So it's not the best of headers. It's not like going straight into the cross section. It's not anything. It's just a floating header, and he just walks past it. So he's completely misplaced where he should be and how to dive and be a goalkeeper for that particular moment, and that gets them a little bit of morale. Then Smith's a very nice shot, but Dida gets a hand to it, and it's like, oh, come on, and then he saves the penalty, and then no one's quick enough to
rebound. Yeah,
to rebound in 6-minute nightmare, and they are shell shocked. They are absolutely, because you think with the quality that they had, and they clearly showcased, they could go ahead and score some more. It shouldn't have been a problem. But then somehow the gods of the day, Dudek becomes the magnet for the ball, because I think he saves a couple with his head at some point.
Yeah.
The whole momentum has shifted, and then obviously you go to penalties, and the greatest players of all time, like in Pirlo and Shevchenko, do the worst penalties you've ever seen. And talk about encroachment with Dudek, because if Pirlo shot it any more slowly, Dudek would be on him. He was just gaining and gaining.
Maybe I've got too many blinkers on right now. should play the host card much better. But I think Dudek's encroachment is ridiculous. I mean, how the referee or his assistants haven't called that in is crazy. And I think it's just how the rule was interpreted in the day. I think there wasn't any rule enforcement that the goalkeeper had to remain on the line. I think on one of the penalties, I don't know if it's the Shevchenko one or the
Pirlo. I think it's the Pirlo one.
He's almost on the edge of the 6-yard box at the point of when the ball struck. I mean, how has that not been spotted and picked up? I mean, he's narrowed the angle down by 50% to save it. I mean,
I would point out none of those penalties are going in otherwise, though. Even if he's on his line, they're pretty awful pens.
Bad. They have no power. I mean, the Pirlo one is, and the Shevchenko one is just like they're just giving up at that point.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was demoralizing when you're dominating the football match in the first 45 minutes. You can only imagine what you're feeling at half time, and you're probably not expecting that you're going to lose that football match. It's very rare that you lose a football match for 3 goals up, but it really is just 8 minutes of madness in the second half. I mean, it's brilliant from Liverpool. Full credit to them with this bang average team that they've got. They just find a way, and I think they find a way. I'll separate my bias. They find a way, and fair play to Benitez. He makes a crucial change at half time. He brings on Dieter Hamann, and I think that just allows the formation to shift. And because he's got to go for it. And let's not forget, Benitez at this point is still a very good football manager. He's done some amazing stuff with Valencia. He's taken Valencia to 1-2 Champions League finals before this and narrowly missed out. So, this is a man who's like in the clutches, like, I don't want to miss out again. So I think he's changed the tactics to set the team out to just attack, and it pays off, and full credit to Liverpool.
I mean, this could have crushed, an experience like this could have absolutely crushed a side. It doesn't crush Milan. They almost reached Champions League, the final the next year. They get to the semi-finals. But 2007, they get the chance for immediate revenge. They find themselves back in the final, Champions League final, against Liverpool again. Now, I will hold my hand up, Jamie. I do trot out some tired old tropes about Italian football, and I've been banging on about the 0-0s. And at least there won't have been some massive corruption scandal somewhere in Italian football in the meantime.
You're playing all the hits, all the favorites.
You played that really well. I like that. Yeah, I don't think we can let this story pass without bringing up the scandal of Calciopoli. It occurred in 2006, and it really is it's the death of Italian football in terms of dominates. Italian football is still super strong, and it is super strong, and the Serie A is still a brilliant football league to watch and has been. But this is really the start of the end of the Italian dominance. The door open for Spain and England to start dominating European football, and that's exactly what happens. So it's the telephone. Just a brief, Graham. I know you've got this covered. And, you got all about Calciopoli.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically this is the telephone tapping scandal where referees are being influenced or being appointed across a wider kind of governance ecosystem. And so Italian football is basically catching itself in the mirror, and Milan aren't really at the center of it, but they are. Juventus are at the center of it, and they're the one that take the harshest punishing on this. They get relegated to Serie B. They get I think a minus 30 points deduction or something. I think they appeal that and it's less, but it means Juventus are going to be out of Serie A for a couple of seasons. Milan themselves have been deducted points, 15. It gets reduced to -8, but it pretty much puts them out of the Serie A challenge. They are in the Champions League for 2006-07 in terms of they qualified for it. But UEFA also apply a punishment, and they move Milan out of the group phases where they should have begun into the preliminaries. So they have to go through the qualifiers in order to get to the group stage. So they're not kicked out of the Champions League, but they are given a small punishment where they play an extra few games in order to qualify for the group stage. So It's an Italian scandal. I think its significance in Italian football is massive in terms of what it is and what it did for the Italian game. Milan aren't absolutely front and center. They're a part of it, but equally they are punished for it.
So what's happened to the Milan team over these couple of years? Has that evolved much? It's still Pirlo pulling the strings, but I guess Inzaghi is back up front. And has Shevchenko, has he left by this stage?
Yeah, that's the big change is that Shevchenko has left for Chelsea, and Alberto Gilardino has come in from Parma, who's showing really good promise actually, but obviously he's not the same level. So that's when Ancelotti turns this formation a bit to the famous Christmas tree. So he removes the striker, introduces an extra midfielder, and he pushes Zidane further up the field because he is quite good at attacking, to be fair. So, but generally, same core, same grit, same quality football. And then what happens? They top their group again.
They're very good at qualifying, aren't they? They do generally win their first 3 or 4 games, have it all wrapped up, top the group, go on to the next one.
And then quarterfinals, they meet with Bayern. And it's in actually it's a 2-2 in San Siro, which you'd think that they'd go to Munich and be dismantled. That would, but the opposite happens. 2-0 in Munich for Milan.
And Jamie, who do they get in the semi-finals?
They get, I think, one of the greatest Manchester United teams of all time, and I'm not even taking the mickey when I say that. And this is a Manchester United that have beaten Roma in the quarterfinals 7-1 in one game. Roma finished second in Serie A in 2007. Roma played Milan twice in 2007 in Serie A. They beat Milan in the San Siro, and then they drew in the Olympic Stadium 1-1. So Milan haven't beaten Roma, and they've just seen Manchester United smash Roma out of sight. So I think it's no mean feat to say that Milan probably go into this game as second favourites, but I go back to what I said previously. I think they just seem to have something over Manchester United in this period. I think United are the favourites. I was expecting them to go 3. United win the first leg 3-2 at Old Trafford. It's a brilliant game, and Gus Kaka scores one of the most incredible improvised goals that you could see on a football pitch. He turns Evra and Heinze into knots.
Yeah, just makes them collide with each other while he just heads the ball in between them. Like you go that way.
Yeah, the header is just brilliant improvisation because not naturally what you would think to do. He's poking the ball into a space. He's going to use his incredible acceleration into, while these 2 defenders are just twisted into knots, and then he has the calmness and composure to just pass it through Van der Sar. He doesn't even belt it. He just passes it through Van der Sar. It's just it's a beautiful, beautiful goal.
He's in tune with his body, isn't he? And it is Kaka's year, isn't it? Because he's gonna win the Ballon d'Or at the end of it.
They go into the second leg, Graham, though, into the San Siro, and Milan are just sensational. They absolutely blow United out of the water. They win 3-0. And the significance of that as well, just to kind of give it context, as we're going to move into the rating at some point in terms of where we put this AC Milan team, that's the last defeat in the Champions League for Manchester United for 2 years. So Manchester United go on what is a record run, 25 games unbeaten in the UEFA Champions League. They win it the following season. They get to the final of the season after that, where they lose to Barcelona. So Milan and Barcelona bookend this in 2 incredible seasons for Manchester United. So I just want to give context. I don't want to just keep saying how brilliant Manchester United do want to say.
Sure.
Well, I mean, wait, you could offer more context by saying what team took that record off Man United.
No. I could. You're right. I could, but I won't.
I'll
Could no
give you a
longer
clue.
stand.
They're also from Manchester.
Yeah. James, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Anyway, let's get back to AC Milan. They have fairly won this semi-final against an incredible football team, an opponent, and they go on again, Graham, to face who in the final? Or Gus, who do
Yeah.
they face in the final?
Liverpool. It's revenge time. You don't usually get a chance to revenge, and actually, this Liverpool side is a lot. Well, no, maybe not a lot better, but they're certainly more into the game. They create chances from the beginning. Milan are not as dominating as they were 2 years before in the game.
I mean, this is the bizarre thing, Gus, because I think Liverpool have improved. Milan have probably reduced and are probably less quality than the 2005 team. But going back to your point, Ancelotti has changed the shape. And I think having the one forward in Inzaghi offside, and then Kaka and Seedorf behind him, and Pirlo and Gattuso doing their thing. I think Ambrosini was in the team as well there. And also Maldini has moved into defence because I think Jankulovski has come into the left back position. So it's a slightly different Milan team. But I mean, it is an opportunity. And I think I just love to know how much was in Ancelotti and teams thought about, right, let's exact revenge. Let's not repeat Istanbul. But Gus, the most important question, this game's played in Athens. Were you in Athens at the time?
I was in Athens at the time. Obviously, I wasn't in the match, but because I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't have the money at that point to do things like that. But no, I wasn't. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, Athens really suit Milan. They kind of find their stride in the Greek capital. So I think they get quite lucky when the first goal is scored because it's right at the end of first half, I think. So it kind of kills the momentum that maybe Liverpool are building, where you have Inzaghi just going around the keeper and placing it, and the ball like agonizingly like goes past the line like quite slowly. And
I think it's great seeing Inzaghi having this moment because, like I say, I've always found him a difficult player to sort of place as to whether he was any good or not. I mean, clearly he was quite good because he's got a shed load of goals in the Italian game. But I guess because of the way he played, he does, quite often he'd go through games without you really noticing him.
I think his passion was the most noticeable thing, and that tells you something because obviously, you don't usually, you have the technique and the passes and the shots and whatever you might like admire about a player, but when the passion is the top thing on the list, he's obviously wasn't as skilled and as thing, but he really, really wanted to score goals. Yeah, so he gets a second one on the 82nd minute. I'll tell you the truth. I've always remembered that game as 2-0 in my head because Liverpool's goal comes in such a late stage that it didn't affect anything whatsoever. So I in my head it's always like 2-0.
Yeah,
but
Dirk Kuyt, who looks like an extra from Boogie Nights, he gets the late one.
I think, as you said, Jamie, sort of when we were talking about this before, after the chaos of the previous cup final with Liverpool, this one actually it feels like a professional performance from Milan. Actually, they never really looked in much danger in it, I didn't think.
I think the wisdom of Ancelotti is the tell. I think he's got a different shape. He's got a different mindset. I think he's very good at learning from history and channeling that learns from his mistakes and makes sure that he minimizes those errors going forward. And I think 2005 would have been in his mindset in terms of going into this game in 2007.
So that's not a bad return, is it, for Ancelotti? 3 Champions League finals in 5 years, 2 wins, 1 horror show defeat. I mean, it should be 3 wins, really. And then this is sort of brings the curtain up on the Ancelotti era, but it also kind of brings the curtain up on possibly the greatness of the Italian era. Is that too big a thing too big a statement, Jamie?
I think the Calciopoli scandal is the instigator. Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan, who we've covered, Graham, go on and
Mm-hmm.
win the Champions League in 2010. And that's the last time an Italian team won the European Cup / Champions League. We're now 16 years into that period. It's the longest period in the history of the competition where an Italian team hasn't won the main prize. Inter Milan did get to the final last year, but Paris Saint-Germain, as we know, absolutely destroyed them. Graham, I had some boring stats on the Italian dominance if you want it as well. So I asked you if you wanted it, and then I just went straight into answering. So between 85 and 2010, Italian team, they win 8 times the European Cup or the Champions League. They have 7 finalists as well. So that's fair representation. Just to kind of give you a flavour, England win the tournament 3 times, Spain win it 6 times. England have 5 finalists in addition to the wins. And then 4 runners-up, Spain have. From 2010 to 2011, no Italian winner, as I've said, 4 finalists. So Juventus, as Gus has already mentioned, Inter a couple of times. Spain, England have dominated. Germany, Bayern Munich have won a couple in that time as well.
And worth saying that Ancelotti goes on to have quite a good relationship with the Champions League further to this. So his story of the Champions League is not over.
It's not over. He's considered a specialist, isn't he? He's if you want to win it, that's the person you hire.
Or you sign Clarence Seedorf, who won it with Ajax, who won it with AC Milan, and won it with Real Madrid. There you go.
Okay, time to bring some realism to this debate. We are getting to the rankings. As a reminder, we have 5 categories of greatness. All-time greats at the top, true greats are mid-tier category, touch of greatness, edge of greatness, and blink of greats at the bottom. Jamie, I wonder, where's he going with this?
I know what you're thinking, and I am torn, actually. A little anecdote, just to kind of share, personal connection. In 2007, when AC Milan beat Liverpool in Athens, where Gus was, on the morning of the day after the match, I had taken a train from Florence to Milan, and I had no idea that there was going to be a open bus parade or Milan around the city, the cathedral, the beautiful cathedral, of showcasing the Champions League. I was right front and center. I was able to see the players on the bus lifting the European Cup. So that was a nice personal connection for me, a complete random opportunity that wasn't planned. It just happened to be. So I've always felt AC Milan because of that personal connection. I've always felt this team. I love Carlo Ancelotti a lot. I'm just going to leave it there. I like his eyebrow a lot. Some incredible players that we've talked through. Clarence Seedorf, one of my favourite players of all time. I just think he's a genius on the football pitch, and it's probably more understated than he deserves, even though he does get the right accolades. I think everything points to all-time greats, and that just seems to be the right place to do it because of their dominance. Ancelotti wins 5 international titles, but he only wins 3 domestic titles. So I do think there is an argument to put them in the second bracket because they do lose a final against Liverpool. And as we discussed, probably not the strongest Liverpool. So I am a bit torn on this. I feel it should go all-time greats. But when I think of all-time greats, I think of Brazil, Porto winning the treble, Inter Milan winning the treble, Manchester United winning a treble, Ajax winning a treble. These are the teams we put in all-time greats. And I think AC Milan deserve their place in that. I'm going to stop my rambling. I'm going to go out of character, and I'm going to start by putting them in tier 2 as true greats.
Go on, Gus. Where are you going to go?
Oh, I was counting on you, Jamie, to just put them at the top one, so I can make the argument of because looking at it, I felt the same as well. I felt a bit like a obviously magnificent selection of players. The Nesta Maldini combination is probably my favorite. Pirlo would be in my top 11 of all time. You have Kaká, you have Shevchenko, you've got Seedorf, like you said, like the lightning in a bottle again, like amazing players. And they do what they do in the European stage. And domestically, they're not that dominant. you kind of have second thoughts. And I was almost like taken with your take of like those incredible players. I'm like, oh yes, they are all time greats, and individually they are all time greats. I wouldn't have a doubt in my mind. But as a team, it pains me, but I think true greats. There's definitely a Milan side that's all time greats. We know which one that is. There might be another one, but I do feel that they could have had a couple of more titles to their list, so then to make it into all-time greats. So I'm going through greats too.
It's harsh to penalise a side because there have been greater versions of them, and it's harsh to penalise a side because there would be no doubt that they would be all-time greats, but for an insane 8 minutes against Liverpool. But it probably does take the gloss of it. It turns their record into, could they have done better with what they had? But I think it's a fair ranking. I think we have to say Ancelotti's AC Milan, true greats.
Didn't see that coming.
Well, at least I'm not in the bottom two anymore. Well, one of my teams is top two is good. Top two feels all right.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. That's been very, very. I've enjoyed that actually. A little stroll through a proper team.
Yes, thank you, Gus. I think we had the same enthusiasm, slightly different levels for this football team, and I'm glad that we were able to keep Graham still here so he can get to the ranking. It would have been awkward if we lost Graham halfway through that.
I know. Hopefully, we'll be back in the Ensley League years before we know it. But
well, we're not though, are we? I think we're going on a bit of a tour of big clubs in the next few episodes, aren't we, Graham? Do you want me to help you with that?
We might be, yes. We might be. I'm trying to remember.
I can help you if you want. We've got Liverpool from the 60s, and then we've got Arsenal from 97.
Yes.
98.
So, it's all coming back to me. So, yes, we will have happier memories, or just as happy memories, maybe for Liverpool, depending on how you view it. But we're going for an old school 1960s Liverpool, and then we are looking at a couple of classic Arsenal teams. Arsene Wenger's very first year in charge at Arsenal, which is an absolutely blinding story. And then we have the second part of our Herbert Chapman extravaganza. We're going to be looking at his time at Arsenal. So thank you once again, Gus.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure. Like, I could talk football forever.
Thanks again, Jamie.
Thank you, Graham. Well played. I think you played a really good supporting role in this one. And I look forward to the normal lower league stuff that we can do where you can shine like the brilliant lower league superstar you are.
Excellent. And we will be back with 1960s Liverpool next time.